welcome to the Bonsai Garden. And today I'm going to be tackling a project which, to be honest, I've been putting off for a little while. And it's my Monarch of the Glen silver birch forest. And I put this composition together about 2 years ago after watching a great video by Nigel Saunders and Jonathan Aristone, which is, I believe, one of the best tutorials on putting together a forest composition out there on YouTube, and I'd certainly recommend that if you haven't seen it. It's in 2 parts. I'll put the link down below in the description, but it's certainly worth your while having a look at that. It's a bit of a masterclass in putting forest compositions together, in my opinion. And I was inspired to get hold of some silver birch trees and put this thing together. There were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think about 11 trees in this whole composition. I've got 3 trees at the front here which I've tried to fuse together. I'm not sure that that's been massively successful, and it doesn't look like those have fused together, and I may need to give some attention to that. And when I put this together, it was a bit of an act of faith, really, because what I did was I planted the saplings in here and immediately trunk chopped all of those, and the idea being to regrow those and to get some taper in those trunks. Now, for the first 3 or 4 months, they were just featureless sticks with no branching, no leaves, nothing, and eventually they grew out the side branches, grew out some taper in the top, and with a bit of wiring I guided out some of these branches upwards to become the new leaders. However, on one of the trees, which was at the front, which is now no longer here, the wiring strangled the leader and killed that off. And unfortunately, that was the only bit of growth on that particular tree. And the result was that because that died, then the whole of the tree died. So there's quite a space at the front of the composition here where there isn't a tree. So I went out and I bought a replacement tree, which I have in the pot just inside here. My plan is to take that tree and to pop it into this space here. Also, this tree hasn't been out of this huge pot since I put the thing together, so it's my opportunity to lift it out and have a look at the roots. Now, this is by far the largest of the bonsai pots that I have in my collection, and that in part is why I've not been looking forward to taking this out. What I'm hoping for is that all the roots are fused together and that it stays in one piece as I lift that out of the pot, and we'll see whether that is in fact the case. And what I need to do in terms of replacing the dead tree in there is I need to cut out a big wedge at the front here and take the new tree out of the pot, secure the roots into this pot, and make sure everything goes back in happily. So let's get to it. My neighbour, unfortunately, is doing some kind of DIY project at the moment, so I apologise if you hear the sound of drilling and hammering, but I'll try and make what progress I can here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just remove some of the dressing and bits and pieces on top of the pot. So we've got these tiny little baskets in which I had my fertiliser. We've got the stag. He's going to have to move. There are a couple of rocks placed on top of the soil here which were just there. There's a bit of dressing, including this big rocky outcrop. So I'm just going to lift those out. The next thing I want to do is just see whether this is tied into the pot, and I expect there are some tie wires, and indeed there are. Now, when I put this together, I put a lattice of bamboo into the bottom of the pot to secure the trees to. As I mentioned already, I was pretty much copying what Nigel and Jonathan Aristone had done in that video. and it just gave me something to secure the trees to in the bottom of the pot. So I'm just snipping away at the bits of wire that I can see there. So there's a number of tie down wires, and I've also got some potting mesh. I can leave those, but here's the bit that I'm dreading, which is my attempt to lift this all out of the pot. And then what I will need to do is I'll just have a look at the roots and do a little bit of trimming of the roots if necessary. But what I really need to do is in this portion here where the dead tree was, just in this bit here, I need to excavate the soil from there, and then I'm going to take the new candidate tree out of the pot, check the roots, and then I need to insert that tree into that space. So here we go, try and lift this out of the pot. And I think what I might need to do is just go around the edges there. And I might well find that this is root bound in the pot. It certainly feels like the roots could be coming right to the edge of the pot. So let's try again. There we go. So at this point I lost some audio and some footage, but I'll try and recreate that for you as best I can. I've just taken the tree out of the pot, and what I now need to do is just do a bit of root work and remove any circling roots. I then need to cut a wedge and remove the roots of the dead tree. This isn't the job I was planning to do with this saw today, but let's see if we can just cut a wedge in there. There we go. A big wedge of soil there. So I've now made a space for this tree. What I need to do is take that out of the pot and get this ready to transplant into the composition. And once I see where the roots are on this, I'll have an idea where I need to chop and how high or how tall it needs to be to fit with the other trees. So I'm just working away and getting rid of all this peaty soil. Gently raking away here, rotating it as I go, just working out all this dense soil, just loosening it up, and eventually I should have access to the roots. There's a natural sort of bulbous point just here, which suggests that that will be the top of my root base as I plant it. So I've now removed the bulk of the roots from the tree, and you can see I've got some long roots hanging down, and I need to remove and reduce that quite significantly to allow me to fit the tree into the pot. So I'm going to remove this lower portion of roots. Here we go. And there are also some quite large tap roots in there, which I also need to remove, just so that I can make sure that fits into the pot. So the tree now should fit into the space in the pot. And what I'll need to do is put some soil into the pot just to bed the tree down onto, so the roots have got something to grow into. So I'm just trying those for size into the pot, and I think that will sit quite nicely in there. So I just now need to add some soil for that to grow into. And in fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wedge of soil that I took out, and I think if I cut that in half like slicing a cake, I can use the bottom half and just sit the tree on top of that. So I'm just taking a slice of that existing soil. And just popping that into the pot and sit the trees in there. And I'm just pushing the tree into the corner of that wedge that I cut out, and that's going to prop it up and give it some support. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top of that wedge of soil and also just pop that on top of the roots, and that should help support the tree in the pot. And if necessary I can also add some wires to the trunks of the existing trees in the pot just to help support the tree in position. So I'm just taking a little bit of soil off there just to go around where the new trunk is, and there you go, just firming that into the pot. And then next I just need to backfill any gaps in the soil, and also just go around the edge of the pot where I did the root work and just make sure I fill any voids or gaps around there. And then I'll do the usual thing with the chopstick of going round where I added the new soil and just making sure that that fills in any gaps or voids. There's just a couple more gaps around the back here, just where I need to add a little bit more soil. So now for the chopstick. And then I'm just dressing the pot and putting the stones back on to add a little bit of landscaping to the pot. That's also helping to firm down the new soil and to hold the tree in position. So there we go. And I'd noticed at this point there's a little bit of a gap down the back of the tree, so I'm just going to put a little bit more soil in there as well, just to help firm the tree in place. So just a little scoop of soil. And as I said, if necessary I can add some guide wires to the other trees and just hold or brace the new tree into place to make sure it's in the position that I want it in the pot. And there we go. That's the new tree added into the composition. And what I need to do now is I need to decide on where to make a trunk chop on the tree to make it consistent in height with the other trees in the pot. And I'm going to take it at this point here. And what I'm expecting is that the stored energy in the trunk, which has gone down there over the winter months, is going to surge back up the tree and cause it to bud out at this point and give me a new leader, which is exactly the process that I did with the other trees. And they've all got trunk chops at this point. And here's the carnage cam. And the tree's now good to go back onto my benches. So I'll just keep an eye on that over the next coming months, and hopefully that will sprout out some new branches. And the final job is always to water the trees to help them get settled. I hope you found that useful or interesting. If so, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to be notified of future videos. Thanks for joining, and hope to catch you in the next one.